Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder & Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder & Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder & Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at Sly at...
The expectations are that they're going to cut rates. It's just a matter of, is it a quarter of a point or a half a point?
Okay, so we weren't streaming there on the live stream, so I just want to repeat what we're talking about right now is we are eagerly anticipating what the Feds will do today. The Federal Reserve comes out with its decision on whether or not to change interest rates. Sly just reported that they're 65% chance that they're going to decrease it 50 basis points. And let's talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
So Fed drops rates. Mortgage rates dropped today, right?
No. They've already dropped in anticipation of what the Fed's going to do. The markets are always looking forward. So the Fed futures is what we look at, and those odds, they're baked into the current pricing we have. The mortgage rates we're already seeing, they're basing it on a 50 basis point rate cut at 65% odds. So if that doesn't happen, we actually, even though the Fed cuts the rates by a quarter of a point, we may actually see mortgage rates creep back up a little because the markets were expecting 0.5%. But it's really important to see what they say going forward. Are there going to be more Fed rate cuts? Currently, they're anticipating another Fed rate cut in November and in December. So if the Fed comes out and says, we're going to keep an eye on it, inflation is still here, which we know that it kind of is, right. And if they take that sort of tone, the markets may react and say, oh, well, maybe they're not going to cut the rates 100 basis points throughout this year, which is kind of what's expected right now. So very interesting to see what they actually do today. But then what's even more important is what they say they'll do going forward and what the expectations are for that.
So we're not expecting huge monumental changes tomorrow morning.
Well, if they do the 50 basis point rate cut today, which is expected, and they say that they're going to continue cutting rates because they feel the economy is not doing great, I think we could see significantly better pricing. I mean, we've already seen rates come down from 7.8% 90 days ago to 6.15% today. That's a huge drop. I mean, so our phones are already ringing off the hook with refi clients and refi inquiries. People want relief. People need relief from these high prices. Of everything else. And if you could save a couple $100 a month on your mortgage, that's more that you could spend on food and utilities and everything else. So
absolutely.
Interesting times. So we will see, we'll kind of see what happens. And this is the Mortgage Minute done early because this is kind of the stuff I was going to talk about. No. It's very interesting. And we're sitting on the edge of our seats waiting to see what they decide to do.
We're such geeks.
Yeah,
we really are.
Totally are.
It's so funny. So yesterday morning, Dick, I got a phone call from a potential client of mine, former client of yours, a friend of yours. We were talking about how you had helped his son and daughter-in-law purchase a place. And he was like, I feel so bad for the guy because my daughter-in-law just calls him with any question that she has on her mind when it comes to real estate, when it comes to houses. And I feel so bad. I mean, she's like taking up all his time. And I was like, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? When we get the opportunity to info dump on the thing that we're never not thinking about, what a golden opportunity. That's literally what this is. This is just us giving ourselves the chance to gush about a field that we love. So that made me think of that because it was just so funny. I'm like, no. That is a wonderful use of our time getting to talk about the thing that we like doing and giving us the opportunity to express our knowledge.
And as a treat to the listeners and viewers, they're going to get an opportunity to hear you info dump a little bit at the top of the second hour. We do a lot of talking here about, what's it like to be a buyer in this market? What's it like to be a seller in this market? What's it like to be in my positions, in Sly, your position? But we've got, one of the hardest working, busiest agents on the ground who's, relatively new to the business in just a couple of years and already starting to slam it. I want to hear your perspective.
That's
how
so
you
nice.
juggle being a mom, a wife, you help me on my deals, you building your own deals. So I really want to dive into that and see what does it look like from when before you started to when you started to now. So don't tip off too much of that. But you'll be our featured guest today, Kristen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And for those of you listening, I did not know that before walking in the door today. So nothing prepared. We're just going to be in for the ride together.
As is true of most of our show. It's so conversational.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy it
Do
that
it by
way,
and
though.
me too. We always have the best shows when we wing it.
Yeah,
and
not
we just-
scripted. Like
Exactly.
scripted, people know when something is scripted, and like you write it down and read it. No,
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
Right, we're not
They
going
do
to do
pick
that
up
at
on that.
all. So how do you balance being a top-notch realtor while raising 2 young kids? What?
Well, you see, this is
it's funny.
We're not robots.
Another agent in our office and we were making some phone calls yesterday in preparation of an event that our team is putting together. And the other agent is still working on their phone presence, and they were reading a script that they had printed out for themselves so that they didn't mess anything up. And one of the people that they were speaking to on the phone hung up mid-conversation because they said, "Oh, it's just a robot," and hung up. They literally thought it was a person, like a pre-recorded, because it was being read off of a. Yeah, so people can definitely pick up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's actually that's exciting. The event we're putting on. It's the first time we've really kind of delved into this area.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see the outcome, and we'll talk more about it next
what
week.
is it? I don't know what this is. I'm excited.
Well, we've got a new listing coming up that is it's a full rehab. There was this dump of a house that these the current sellers bought, and they just transformed this thing. It's beautiful.
I looked up the former listing. I couldn't believe it.
Right?
I was like, this can't be the same house.
In fact, I got a text message from the seller that says, "When is this photo on Zillow going to change?"
I
Like,
know.
When we go live.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, oh my God, the photography of the new place. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Oh.
So we're doing a big event. And if we're doing
Nice.
something we haven't done before, we're giving the neighbors a chance to have a sneak peek the night before we go live with an open house on the weekend. We're going to invite the neighbors in. So we're calling around the neighbors and saying, "Hey, come on out, check this out. We've taken this eyesore out of your neighborhood." That type of thing.
Awesome.
So, yeah,
I
it's
want
a
to
cool
invite
approach.
everybody in, get some feedback for the sellers before we go live. Really
Fantastic.
exciting. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to. Well, you know what? I'm going to save this question for the Mortgage Minute because you're right. We've taken too much of your thunder away from the Mortgage
no.
Minute. Yeah. Yeah. But no, seriously, and it will. I think it belongs better in that area than it does here in the intro. Anything new you guys want to discuss before I jump into the Market Minute?
Anything new? I'm not really sure how new this is, but something that I'm noticing that I've seen change a lot over the last month, and I'm sure Sly can probably agree with me, is I'm hearing less and less of, "I'm going to wait. I want to buy a house, but I'm going to wait. I need to sell my house, but I'm going to wait. I need to wait until things are getting better." I'm personally seeing I'm busier now than I was all of spring.
Yeah.
I'm busier now than I was at most of the summer. And I'm seeing a lot of buyers accepting that this is where they're at and being excited that this is where they're at and ready to go. And on the flip side of things, because sellers are often also buyers, we're seeing a lot of sellers willing to go into it even though the school year has started, even though it's fall, and just start jumping forward and taking advantage of where the market currently is right now. And I think that that's really cool. There was a lot of like boogeyman talk, I think.
Yeah, the sky is falling.
Absolutely. And it's just been really cool to see not only that not happen, but also watch people achieving their goals now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of that business as usual concept, is here we are a month into the new NAR settlement, and it's business as usual. Everything's still happening. The sky hasn't fallen. People are adapting. Changes are being made. In fact, there's some evidence that this is actually even better because it's having conversations that weren't had before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's kind of in a good situation. But I've had a slightly different impression of the past couple of weeks than you, only because I'm seeing some buyers not jumping. Like, for instance, we went 3 weeks where some listings were having very limited showings. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like there was one listing we had in Northbrook, and we had a couple of showings every weekend, and then no offers. And this weekend, bam, three offers. All right. And you know when you go back to them and say, "Sorry guys, multiple offers," they're all like, "You're full of it, BS." No, but it's true. It's like, and I was pegging it on the fact that this news that's of the interest rate drop that's been hanging over our heads for like 2 months has somewhat kept buyers on the sideline. And I think now that we're getting closer, they're understanding that Fed change
isn't going to immediately affect the actual mortgage rates. The mortgage rates are already low, and I think they're starting to recognize that. So that's why we're seeing some more activity. But I've been telling sellers, don't drop your price yet. Don't drop the price, because I think the buyers are coming. I think they're going to come out, and they're going to come out strong. So we're already seeing evidence of that.
Awesome.
Okay, so with no further ado, or not.
Or some further ado.
What happened?
A little further ado.
Oh, I know what happened. We'll do this. With no further ado.
Stay on top of the market with Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Dick Barr's Market Minute.
Hello and welcome back. This is Dick Barr here with Unlocking Lake County for Wednesday, September 18th with our updated Market Minute. We haven't done this in a couple of weeks. I think 2 weeks ago we didn't do the Market Minute, and last week we were off. But let's start with the entire Northwest Lake County, where we're sitting on a peak right now. 231 active homes on the market, 35 new listings this week, down from the 46 new listings last week. 49 properties have gone under contract this week, up from 37 the prior week. On the past 30 days, 186 properties have gone under contract, which is a big jump from the month prior where there was only 152. And what's interesting to see, we have 231 active properties on the market, and only 186 properties have gone under contract the past month. We're starting to see a little kind of upside down balance where inventory is starting to build. And that represents an opportunity for buyers.
Sure does.
Days on market average, surprisingly still very low, only 22 days, and we have a 1.2 month supply of inventory. Lowest price home sold in the area was only $62,500. I wish I saw that one. And the highest price was $1.4 million. Highest active property is still sitting at $4.9 million, with a median price at $349,950. Now on over to Antioch, where they're sitting on 43 active properties. 5 new listings this week, down from 11 the prior week. 8 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, up from 5 the prior. And 24 homes under contract in the past 30 days. Big drop from last month, where there was 32. Days on market average in Antioch is 25 days, with a 1.8 month supply of inventory. Lowest price home sold was $62,500. That was the low one, with a high of $1.5 million. The highest active in Antioch is $2.3 million, and a median price of $355,000. 3 years ago, that number would have been probably $220, right? Yeah, it's about 40% increase since then. Now on over to Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside, where they're sitting on 39 active properties. 2 new this week, down from 6 the prior week. 6 homes under contract in the past 7 days, just under 1 a week. And in the past 30 days, they've closed on 24 homes. Big jump from the prior 30, where they were up, where they went under contract for 14. Days on market average is only 22 days, with a 1.6 month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold was $110,000, with a high of $581,000, and a 1.6 million is the highest, with a median average of $340,750. Now on over to Grays Lake, Gages Lake, Haynesville, Third Lake, and Wildwood, where they're also sitting on 39 active properties. 7 new listings this week, slightly dropped from last week, where there was 9. 13 homes under contract in the past 7 days, which doubles the prior week, with 38 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, up from the 26 in the prior 30. 32 days on market is the average. That's the highest in the area right now, and with a 1 month supply of inventory. $110,000 is the lowest priced home sold, with a high of, make sure I'm reading the right line here, $581,000. Highest active price is $977,000, and a median average of $277,000. And this week, that's the lowest median average in the area. Now and over to Gurnee, Wadsworth, and Old Mill Creek, where they are sitting on a staggering 48 active listings, about 7 times more than there were back in March.
Wow.
With 8 new listings this week, dropped from 13 the prior week. 10 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, up from 7 in the prior 7. 37 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, up from 21 in the prior. And 14 days on market is the average. That's the fastest in the area, and a 1.3 month supply of inventory. Lowest priced home sold was $185,000, with a high of $850,000, and a highest active asking price of $4.9 million, with a median average of $415,000. Now, and over to our backyard of Lindenhurst and Lake Villa, where they're sitting on 38 active properties, 6 new listings this week, double last week. 6 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, slight drop from the 8 in the prior 7. 28 homes have gone under contract in the past 30 days, slight drop from the 30 in the prior 30. Days on market average is only 22 days, or 3 weeks and 1 day, and a 1.4 month supply of inventory. It's actually kind of high. The Lindenhurst Lakeville were sitting under 1 month supply for a while, but that new inventory is bumping up that number. Lowest priced home sold in the Lindenhurst Lake Villa area is $192,000, with a high price of $575,000, highest active $4.5 million, and a median price of $375,000. Now, to finish up with the Round Lake area, where they're sitting on 24 active homes. That's the lowest inventory in the area. 7 new listings this week, up from the 4 the prior week. 6 homes have gone under contract in the past 7 days, slight drop from the 7 in the prior 7, and a 20 days on market average, 3 weeks minus 1 day, with a 0.7 month supply of inventory. That's the lowest month supply in the entire area. Lowest price home sold was $140,000, with a high of $506,000 and a highest active price of $494,000. Median home sale price $300,000. Okay, what do we got? What are our thoughts?
Sly?
Still a supply and demand issue. There's simply not enough supply. I mean, everywhere you look, it seems like the numbers are, not great. There's not enough homes for sale. That's why you're seeing them go off the market so quick. Yeah, it's changing a little bit. And I also experienced some of that where, offers are getting accepted with maybe home sale contingencies, FHA, VA loans, where maybe they weren't before. But it still just seems like there's not enough supply, not enough homes for sale to meet the demand.
There's definitely not enough good homes. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, the ones that sit for a reason, probably. They're overpriced, or maybe the condition.
I was just about to comment on that. So
yeah.
I'm seeing, it's really interesting. So I am seeing almost 2 completely different worlds right now when it comes to working on the buy side of things. So, you and I are working on a deal right now that's significantly under asking price. And that's because we saw opportunity and the terms were right and we were able to make it work, and it's going to work out great for them. And I think it's a fantastic house. It's not sitting for any reason other than the fact that I do believe that pricing versus time versus market may not have worked in that seller's favor, right? I don't think anyone necessarily did anything wrong, but we had a different experience 2 weeks ago where we had shown those same clients a house that was beautifully priced and they loved it, right? We put it in offer right away. Listing agent called me and said, hey, just so you know, we've got 4 other contracts and 3 of them are higher than yours. Now, our contract offer was over asking price.
Wow.
This specific house was north of $40,000 over asking price. Wow. It was priced to sell. It was priced appropriately, and things worked out rather than having to sit and wait and wait and wait and hope that somebody came through. So we're seeing very different experiences happen in the home buying process based on taking the market into consideration, taking price into consideration, and making sure that things are being done appropriately rather than just shooting for the stars and hoping for the best right now.
Those days are over, right? For the most part.
No,
they're not over?
No.
So still shoot for the stars and hope for the best.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood the question. Yes, those days are over.
Yeah. If you're listing your house, price it right.
And just seeing how it's going to work out. I'm seeing resulting in waiting and price reductions.
Yeah, those
now.
buyers are gone.
Yes.
It's more, let's make a deal.
Yeah.
And forgive me, because I thought you were talking about the multiple offer situation, but yes, I understand and what we've actually seen is, because when we price homes for our clients, we give them a range. We say between here and here. The funny thing is when they hear, so we say between low here and high here, all they hear sometimes is high here, and that's the number they stick with. But the reality is when we give them a range, it's if you use pricing as a strategy tool. So to get that high, you have to use pricing as an attractor to be able to get more buyers in the door.
At least currently.
Right. At least that's what's happening now.
Yeah.
March, different story.
Right.
Yeah, go high. Doesn't matter.
Shoot for the
it's going to
stars.
sell.
It's going to go higher anyway.
Absolutely.
Right.
So what we've seen is people pricing on the higher end of the market are accepting lower offers than people who are starting low on the market, and they're receiving those higher offers.
Sure.
Pricing is a strategy tool. When you price something, it doesn't mean that's when it's sell for. See, the problem is a lot of the public, especially people who haven't maybe bought or sold in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, sometimes ever. They think we could price it high, people could always make offers.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if it's the high price, the buyers are expecting it to sell for more than asking. So they're like, don't show me that house.
Yeah.
Because not only can I not afford that price, I can't afford to go higher than that price. So you wind up with less buyers, less competition, and then less dollars. And we're seeing that very, very specifically here.
Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see with the if the rates do drop further, if that will change.
Yeah.
Some people who have been hanging on, like I said, we're kind of telling sellers to sit tight just a little bit. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Because if the buyers do come back out and the fear goes away, they're probably going to be sitting pretty.
And I don't even necessarily, not that I think you're saying this either, because you're not. I don't blame sellers for that specifically, right? Because if you haven't done it ever or haven't done it in a long time, and you're not tapped into a pricing strategy and what that can look like, you just hear the biggest number and you're like, great, sounds good.
Right.
And for the purpose of educating our listeners, because that is something that I feel really passionate about, we talked several episodes ago about questions that you should ask a realtor upon interviewing them. And one of the questions you should definitely consider asking is, what is your strategy when it comes to pricing? Because we're seeing these large numbers getting promised to their clients, and so then they're signing with people, and then they're having to reduce the price, and they're waiting, and maybe that could have been avoided if you had talked to that realtor and or potentially more realtors to get some insight on what strategy could look like.
I thank you for that, because I am now going to add price drops onto my weekly market. No, seriously.
You should, actually.
I think so,
I'm really curious about that.
That was such an important metric back in February when things were crazy good.
Yeah.
There was 0 price drops.
Right. Now I'm seeing them every day.
Yep.
Right.
Now
Yeah, constantly.
You open up the hot sheet, boom, price change, and they're not changing up.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I had a scenario where my office had multiple buyers like bidding on the same house, and we can't share with each other obviously what the bids are or anything like that, but this house was so underpriced, it was disgusting. And we're like, what is going on here? And it ended up going 40% higher than what the list price was.
Yeah.
And we looked it up, and it was a realtor that owned the property and was selling it. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to super lowball this thing. And she got probably way more than she would have gotten if she would have just priced it where, it should have been priced. And we ended up not getting the deal. Somebody else got it, but I don't even remember. But it was an insane amount of offers that ended up coming in because of that.
Absolutely.
So, how smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Genius.
The best way to get ants is to put a little honey on the floor.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like you keep saying, it's not March anymore.
Right.
It's not. We're not. The strategy of just shoot high so that hopefully you can aim higher is just going to result in sitting around and waiting. So, maybe not. What do I know, right? That's just my opinion. It's just what I'm seeing in my lived experience.
Yep.
But definitely add that to your list of questions you plan on interviewing for realtors one day. Is what is your pricing strategy and what is your reasoning behind that?
Right. And today's strategy that we're talking about ain't the strategy for every time of year.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and not even for every property too. That's the important thing, is that it really does change from property to property, knowing your area, having an idea of what things should look like for you, and then being realistic. Also having someone who's willing to be honest with you and give you a number that maybe you're not going to be super thrilled with, I think holds value over just giving you a number that you're happy with and then potentially sitting and waiting.
You know how many times sellers will say, so what price do you think we should go on the market at? And it depends on, when you're going on the market. If you're going on the market today, I can tell you. If you're waiting a week, let's look at the numbers again next week, because it's volatile. We're changing every week. If you're going in 3 months, by all means, I'll tell you today's range, but you can't count on that. And we don't know what tomorrow will look like, especially 3 or 4 months down the line.
And that's such an honest answer. Do you ever feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit when you give those honest answers? Because I know for a fact that there are other people in our field giving just a number so that the conversation is being kind of a seal the deal conversation to just move things forward. And I've had those conversations where I'm like, there's a lot of variables. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's discuss your goals first. Yeah. And sometimes I get off those phone calls and I wonder, like, was I too honest? Did I overload with the information? Should I just have gone the other route and given them a number? And I know the answer in my heart is no, because that's not the agent I want to be. That's not how I want to do business.
We do things the right way.
Yeah.
We are integrity. Yes.
Right.
I've also literally lost deals before because I was honest.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, you know, but I could sleep well at night and know that I didn't.
Exactly. And you're like, well, I
screw
wish you
someone
the
over.
best. I hope it still works out for you regardless.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for that, and we'll be back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
With your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back. I'm your host, Dick Barr, here with your second installment of Unlocking Lake County, here with Christin Kaufman.
Hey, hey.
And Sly Marinka.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so I want to jump right into it because I think that that last song went a little bit long, but we're going to get started right away with Sly's Mortgage Minute.
Here is the Mortgage Minute with Sly Marinka and Cross Country Mortgage on Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Hello, everybody, and happy Fed Decision Day. We talked about it earlier. Today is the day that we will see what the Fed will do with interest rates. They do not control mortgage rates, so let's set that right off at the beginning. They could control short-term interest rates and the prime interest rate, which is directly attached to your credit cards, if you have a home equity loan, things like that. So the current market odds, as we discussed earlier, are more for a 50 basis point rate cut. 50 basis points is 0.5%. And the rest of the odds are for a 0.25% or a 25 basis point rate cut. So the markets are fully anticipating the rates to be cut today. The Fed has been monitoring inflation, and it's not quite where they want it to be, but it's trending in the right direction. And there have been some other things that have kind of come up that have made it to where they need to start cutting rates. And I think they realize that there's weakness in the jobs markets with some revisions downward and some recent numbers we've talked about where there have been some misses over the last couple months on new job creation. Just this week there was an article that came out about small businesses, which make up about 46.1% of economic activity, and the outlook for small businesses has deteriorated over the last month. Optimism has dipped for small businesses, and a lot of that's due to the inflation. I mean, the inflation has really wreaked havoc on people's finances, and being able to go out to eat, being able to spend money. People are hunkering down, it seems like. So the nice thing about what's been happening is the mortgage rates have already started to come down in anticipation for this Fed rate cut. So we've seen, 90 days ago, we were in the high sevens, and the current 30-year fixed average is sitting at 6.15%. That's down from 6.38% even 2 weeks ago, the last time we met. So we're seeing some pretty significant drops, and that's caused an uptick in mortgage applications by 14.2% over the last week alone. So that goes to show you that people are keeping an eye on this, and if you can save and it's time to refinance. If you bought a house over the last couple of years and you're sitting at 7.5%, 8%, now's the time to maybe start thinking about doing that. People are looking for relief. So that huge uptick in mortgage applications is really telling, of where people are at. So the 10-year Treasury yield has also dropped significantly, down to 3.681% today from about 3.8% a few weeks ago. Again, that's just anticipation for the Fed's rate cuts that are looming. We should hear today, and then the expectation going forward. So it's really important, what happens today, whether it's 25 basis points or 50 basis points, but almost more important than that is the tone the Fed takes and the comments they make about future rate cuts. And any kind of indication the markets are really going to be looking at that to say, all right, well, they're going to keep on cutting rates throughout this year because they need to. Now, with that said, the flip side of it is if they come out with a 50 basis point rate cut today and really, really, nail it that they're going to continue to cut rates, that's telling us that they think the economy's weak. And before an election, I don't know if they're going to be. We don't know what they're going to do. It's really an interesting time, and there's a lot of economists that are saying this is a big decision. I mean, this is a huge decision for the whole economy in general, and what's going to happen in the next couple of months and leading into the election. I don't know if they want to throw up the white flag and say, hey, the economy's bad right before an election. So very interesting times.
That's why I'm predicting the quarter point.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm predicting the quarter point is I think it makes too much of a political statement for them to drop it a full half. A little oxymoron.
Yeah.
But I know everyone who's smarter than me is predicting half. I still
the odds
think
are half.
Yeah. Right. The odds are half. What do you say, 65%?
65-35, yep.
I still think it's going to be a quarter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pessimistic, skeptical. I just think politics will play a role.
And if that does happen and the markets had anticipated a 50 basis point rate cut, which is what's happening right now, guess what's going to happen? Next week, we're going to come back and we're going to say we're back up to 6.3%, or, the rates will go back the other way. But again, even more important than that is the tone they take for going forward. What's going to happen in November? What's going to happen in December? If they say that inflation is under wraps, it's under control, it's going away, that tells me that they are likely going to continue to cut rates, because I mean that's what they were really doing this for, is to tame inflation by jacking up the rates. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do for today, but more interesting the tone that they're going to take going forward.
I'm sure our listeners are hearing this, and how many of our listeners really cared about what the Fed would do at 1 o'clock today?
Yeah.
And we're about 15 minutes away from them making their announcement, and this is an exciting time because it has a lot of ramifications, both good and bad, throughout the different markets.
Ooh, we get to find out live on air.
Yeah.
We get to find out. Well, we might be on commercial. I don't know. Yeah, but you're going to find out before your featured segment.
Yeah.
But the people hearing us talk about it, like I'm having visions of like this great big room with the Fed chairman standing up there in this giant crystal ball, like New Year's in Times Square, with a countdown: 10, 9, half a point. And but it's a little bit more
And the
demure
crowd
than
goes
that,
wild.
right?
Well, and this is the first time in 4 years that they're even talking about it.
Yeah.
So think about that, like
Right.
where we've come from, and just how fast they went up, and they had to do that to tame inflation. And but is it at the expense of the economy? I believe it is.
100%.
I believe it is. I see people. I do finance for a living. I see people's finances daily. I'm a nerd about it. I track a lot of different statistics. I keep my eye on a lot of different things. The excess savings of people has all but dwindled.
Right.
Credit card debt is at the highest level it's ever been.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nerve wracking to see all that and keep an eye on that. So today's a very, very important day in our country.
So personally, again, I have no qualifications to say this, other than my personal feelings and what I've read and what I've seen. I think the Fed was way too slow in its drop. I thought they stayed too high for too long. And I think if I'm right, with only a quarter point, I think the economy is going to suffer even more as a result. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope they do the half point. But like you said, it flags
that's a
that
white
we
flag.
are in a worse economy than we've been told.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and there's what they say, and then there's reality. And
True.
Again, like I see I pull people's credit all day long, every day. I talk to people about their money, that's my job. And it's been rough for a little while. So yes, I also do think the Fed is way behind the curve. Things have been slowing down. You could talk to small business owners all over the place. I have a lot of self-employed borrowers. I have clients that own restaurants, that own carpet companies.
Right.
Everybody's been struggling. This inflation has really, really, really taken a toll, in general. And the Fed had to get that under control, though, because it was runaway. Now, what's causing that is government spending, right? And printing trillions of dollars like it's no big deal. So, there's a spending problem too, that, will have to at some point be addressed, but that's way above my pay grade. I don't even know why I'm talking about it. Hopefully the Fed, does the right thing, cuts the rates, and keeps a very, 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 very close eye on it going down the road, to do what's best for the American people and for the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking of the money printing, you remember back in 2010, 2011 when they did the first-time home buyer tax credit. I saw someone in one of the kind of Facebook neighborhood groups talking about it. Well, that was great. It spurred the economy. It saved housing. And that's not my recollection of it at all.
Yeah.
What it did, it brought a lot of buyers to the market while homes were in free fall. So the end effect was people say, look, it stopped the free fall of home prices, but it also stopped the natural trend of the market.
Yeah.
Prices should have reduced more. If they did reduce more, that would have automatically, just based on free market principles, that would have spurred new buying coming in. A lot of it was happening. That's where, unfortunately, BlackRock picked up billions, trillions in assets during that time period. But they're talking about this again, and now they're talking about $25,000 instead of $8,000, just giving that away to potential buyers. The problem is when you have government subsidizing any industry, you create this kind of artificial demand that the market's really not able to support at that time. And when you give all these people $25,000, what you do is now you increase buyer competition in an already tight inventory market. So that $25,000 is going to be eaten away in just value increases alone. And it's going to cost the government trillions of dollars. And it's going to cost how much fraud? Do you remember how much fraud was reported back in 2010 on people collecting that tax credit who really didn't buy houses or who were buying land contracts that they never fulfilled? And that was just the reported stuff. Who knows how much is lying under the carpet that we never even noticed?
Right. And then, so the Feds they're going to have to just, the central bank's going to have to just continue printing money, and that's what causes inflation. I mean, if you add more dollars to the dollars that are existing, the value of the ones you already have, diminish over time.
Isn't that funny how that works?
It is what it is, right? I mean, it's a simple principle, but, at this point, it's like something's got to give here with the debt and, the debt servicing, and I mean, we're in tough times for sure. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Do you remember what gold was when you were a kid?
Not much. I know it wasn't much. I don't remember exactly, but
I think when I was a
couple
kid,
$100 an
I
ounce.
remember 300.
It wasn't a big.
I remember bouncing between 200 and 300.
Yeah.
Was it now 2,200?
Yeah, over 2,000 for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Silver really hasn't had that.
No.
But I think they mine more actively for silver because it's easier to mine, I think.
Yeah.
But considering how much consumer demand there is for silver, for even industrial demand, I'm surprised silver isn't higher than it is based on it. But gold has definitely done that, skyrocketing. Although I do kind of remember when silver was $1. I think. I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, I don't either, but yeah, it's interesting. All these things coming together here, and we'll know very soon. We'll have to come back to it, and I'll monitor my phone and see as soon as the decision is made, what they'll do, and it will be able to see in real time how the markets react, because they're all watching. They're all watching, and I mean, I think if you see a 50 basis point rate cut, the markets are going to go haywire. Yay, rah rah! The Fed's here to help, and so we'll keep an eye on this.
Kristen, do me a favor and make sure your phone's turned off, because if that 50-point rate drop happens, I think your phone's going to ring off the hook.
Good.
Let's go look at that house now.
Yes.
Bring it on.
And refi applications. So if anybody's looking to refinance, call your lender or call somebody, because relief is relief. I mean, it's already gone down, like we said. I mean, to 6.15%. I mean, we were talking 7.8% a few months ago.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's a huge drop.
And Sly, for the benefit of any listeners right now who have bought in the year 2024 during those peaks, how long do you typically need to be in your mortgage to consider refinancing?
So as long as there is not a prepayment penalty, most loans you could refinance whenever you want. There's typically not a prepayment penalty. However, if you're looking to do, let's say, an FHA streamline loan where you don't want to do another appraisal, you don't want your income verified, typically you've had to make at least 6 payments on that. For like a VA interest rate reduction refinance loan, IRRRL loan, you have to be in the loan for 210 days.
Okay.
So it's about 6 months for those two programs. But on a conventional loan, we really peaked in November, December of 23. So I have borrowers that close at 8.5%.
Wow.
In those months.
Goodness.
Isn't that crazy? That's less than a year ago. And so those borrowers now, it's already over 6 months. It's time to start looking into it. Like let's if you bought a house November, December of 2023, you absolutely should start looking into refinancing.
We've asked this question a handful of times, and I always ask it for the benefit of the listeners, because I feel like people think that you have to have lived in your house for a year, 2 years. I once heard someone tell me that they heard somewhere that you have to live somewhere for 5 years before you can refinance. And I always, just in case it's the first time you're listening, want to give you the opportunity to hear that straight from a lender's mouth. That is absolutely not the case, and you should, at the very least, have that conversation and see what your options are.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, there's typically, all the loans I do, we do not do a prepayment penalty. There are some lenders that charge prepayment penalties, so you might want to check into that. It's easy enough to look at your paperwork that you signed when you bought the house, but in general, you should... and the rule of thumb has always been a 1%.
Right.
It's a no-brainer at 1%. If you plan on staying in the house, if you're moving in 2 years, whatever, it might not make sense. But if you plan on staying in the house and you could save 1% on your mortgage payment, over time, that's an insane amount of money you're saving. If it's 2%, like these people that close at 8.5%, and now you could get 6.1, like that's 2.5.
Imagine the relief.
Oh gosh,
that those buyers would experience.
Yeah, so on a $200,000 loan, if you could save 2% on your mortgage, that's roughly $350 a month in savings.
See, this is exactly why sometimes we say, we don't always say it, but sometimes we say, I hate the term, but marry the house, date the rate.
Yes.
Think of the
Now
people.
that's fine. But all the people that said that prematurely, remember when they said that like in mid 2022 and in 2023, and it was like you had that swing where rates just kept going up. It's like, yeah, you said that a little too soon, but now's the time. Take advantage.
But everything is cyclical. But remember, so the people who got in 22, yeah, they got they started at the high rate. Rates did go higher. They couldn't refinance for several, maybe a couple of years, but think about, they paid about 10 to 15% less for their houses.
That's it. Correct.
So they were in sooner. They stopped paying rent sooner. They started paying mortgage sooner. Yeah, it hurt for a couple of years with the higher payment, but eventually that did come down. Now properties are much more expensive, and now they get to refinance in that lower rate.
Absolutely, and take advantage of the equity you've built up for the last couple years.
That.
I mean, I've had clients that, they call. And in fact, I just had a call the other week where, this week, where a girl a borrower is looking to refinance, and I just went on Zillow to see what her house was. And I know Zillow, I don't don't look at the Zestimate, right? Like
The
let's
Exactimate.
not, right? Don't look at that. But I just for a gauge, because she has no idea, the numbers Zillow had on there was insane compared to what she paid for it and what she owes. Like she's literally going to get out of FHA. Get rid of PMI, and if it's if the number's even within 30% of what Zillow says, like the increase, she's still good. She's gonna have 20% equity,
Beautiful.
and so it's great. So she's gonna get rid of PMI, get a way lower rate. So yeah, I mean it's time. If you bought a home in 2022 and 2023, maybe talk to your lender or call me or whoever, and let's have a conversation about it and see if it makes sense.
Sly, if someone wanted to find out more information about what you're talking about, how could they get a hold of you?
My cell phone number is 847-722-1775, or my website is ccmsly.com, and they could go on there and click inquire. They could apply. They could do whatever they want. Just get a hold of me. We could look at current rates and see where you're at.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I do briefly want to touch base on, and we might have to come back to this a little bit after the featured segment, but I know timely the blue notices came out, the property tax assessments, and people are outraged.
Losing their minds.
They're losing their minds.
Yeah.
They're looking at Lake Villa Township, 13% increase. Yeah. I saw Wakanda Township, 32% increase. But before anyone gets too crazy, look at the values of your house. Someone came to my house the other night. So we rented a dumpster. We put the dumpster in my driveway, and I opened it up to the neighborhood and said, anyone who wants to declutter their house, bring your stuff over, throw it in the dumpster.
Wow.
And we did
That's
that.
nice.
It just got picked up today. My wife was thrilled when it got picked up.
I bet.
But people coming by, having conversations, and one saying, hey, who do I talk to about fighting my new assessed value? And I said, well, what did it raise to? And she gave me a number. I said, and how much did you pay for it? Because they bought it last year, last year. And it was $30,000 more than the assessed value. So she paid a certain number, and the new assessed value was $30,000 less than what she paid for it. And I said, "Are you sure you want to fight that?
You really want to bring attention to it?
Right.
Hey, assessor, you underassessed me." But yes, assessments are a 3-year trailing average. But be prepared. No one's going. If your assessment is less than what you really think the value of your house is, I don't know if it's worth your time and energy to try the appeal. I know people who appeal it every year. Because I've spoken with the assessors, and they said they won't punish you. If you come in and try to get it lower, and it turns out it should be higher, they don't punish you. Maybe today.
Yeah.
But next year, they're like, oh, wait, maybe we're a little bit low over there. But the way this assessment works, the entire township went up in one fell swoop. Everyone went up the exact same amount. So it wasn't like yours went up 10%, mine went up 13%, yours went down 3%. The entire township as a whole went up. So if you think about how taxing bodies work, that will be in effect for you when you're next to a township that went down or didn't go up as much as you, and if you share a tax body. So let's say Lake Villa Township and Antioch Township. They share Lakes or Antioch High School District, where people in Lake Villa Township go there and people in Antioch Township go there. If there's a difference between the two townships, then yes, you might be paying more with a higher assessment for that school than the people in the other township. But if they both go up a similar rate, do you remember, what did Antioch Township go up this year?
I don't recall.
Okay. Yours came up about a month ago, right?
It went up a lot.
Yeah, and so did Lake Villa
Yeah, I
Township.
think my taxes went up about 25%.
25%. So that's actually, so even though Lake Villa Township went up, who you share that school with went up even higher.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see an increase based on that assessment. Now, if the school spent more money, yes, you'll have an increase in your taxes. But the assessment almost has almost nothing to do. In fact, it literally has nothing to do with how much the school spends. A lot of people think, oh, they're raising my taxes so they get more money. No, they get the exact amount of money that they've levied.
Wow.
Your tax for you is only, they divide it up based on the value of your home. So it's not the more tax you pay, the more tax the schools get. It's the schools spend X amount of dollars, then they divide that by the value of all the property in the county and the townships, and then that equals your rate. So rates going up or down is just a pure product of a math formula. Expenditures divided by property value equals rate. So I hope people understand that it's the assessors doing their job, trying to keep the values up to keep it fair amongst townships and these overlapping tax bodies. But it won't necessarily relate to an increase unless you share with a different township who went lower than you. Like Antioch, you're going to get ticked off because we're going to pay less in tax for that school than you are because you guys went up more than we did.
So what do you tell people? I have clients that are calling me saying, what do? I can't afford what my taxes have gone up to. And like, so my wife and I, we bought our house in 2015. So in less than 10 years, I mean, we're at like almost 60% increase from where we bought it in 9 years. Like, where's the end? Like, what do we do?
First thing is you want to make sure you're getting all your exemptions.
Yep.
Number one exemption, if you live there, your homeowner's
General
exemption.
homestead, yep.
Make sure it's there. If you're over 65, 62, you go out and make sure you're getting the senior exemption. If you're making less than $62,000 a year and you're over 65, make sure you're getting the senior freeze, which will freeze the assessed value of your house while you still qualify. It won't freeze your tax dollar amount. It'll freeze the assessed value of your house. So if the schools spend more, you will still pay more taxes, but your assessed value will not increase. So you won't get increases that way. The other thing you can do, if you can't afford your taxes, unfortunately, find a way to make more money or sell your house.
That's it, right?
I was going to say, send them our way. We'll help them sell their house.
And unfortunately, that's what a lot of seniors do. They're like, they're leaving the area because they can't afford their taxes.
Yeah.
And they
seeing
senior
that.
exemption.
Fixed income.
They might save $800, $900 a year.
Yeah,
but they're still paying $8,000, $9,000, $11,000, you know, so it's not huge savings with the way the exemptions are. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to anxiously look up the Fed rate to see what happened. When we come back, we're going to have Christin for you, and we're also going to have what the Feds did. So stay tuned.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County.
With Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County.
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1950.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
And welcome back. This is Dick Barr with Unlocking Lake County here with some big news. But first, let's welcome back Christin Kaufman
Hello, everyone.
and Sly Marinka.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so while you were listening to those commercials, Sly went and checked, and we've got some news for you. What is it, Sly?
The Federal Reserve lowers rates by 50 basis points, sending stocks higher. So, yep,
Nice.
It was 0.5%. The markets were anticipating eagerly. Yeah. It's good news. Good news on the mortgage rate front. Relief for people looking, to refinance. Now we'll see what. So that part A is done. That part's done. But now part B, the actual what they say about going forward. We'll keep an eye on that. Probably have to report that next week because I think that'll be by the time we're done is when we could gauge on what they're going to say. But yeah, part one is they cut the rates by 0.5%. The market's already anticipated that, so don't expect a 0.5% lower mortgage rate tomorrow. That was already baked into the pricing. So now they cross that bridge, and now the next bridge is the verbiage they'll use in their comments this afternoon. So
Okay, so it looks like I was wrong. I was predicting a 0.25 point rate because I thought they were going to play politics, but
You were hoping to be wrong.
I was hoping to be wrong.
Yes.
But I do think such a aggressive drop it does indicate that the Fed's nervous about the economy.
Yes.
And I think it's probably going to be a bit hawkish in its press conference.
Yep.
And I think that's going to, my opinion, we'll see if I'm right, at 2:30 when the Fed chair speaks. I think we're going to hear that more rates are coming down.
More rate cuts, yeah. Yeah, the markets are expecting another 50 points between November and December.
Yeah.
So now if something were to happen and that were even more than that, that would be a surprise at this point. But, we also have to see what the job numbers look like that come out for September. We have to see, all the other – I think they're going to monitor it very, very closely. Keep an eye, obviously, on inflation. They want to get inflation down. The article I read said that they are confident that that the inflation level is going to the 2% target. Now, with that said, it's already 19% higher than it was a couple of years ago, prices, so it's just not going up as fast.
Right.
So I still feel like people are hurting from that. So in any case, 50 basis points, good news.
All right.
And you were talking about, too, you might have mentioned this during your mortgage minute. I might have missed it. Weren't you talking about during one of the breaks that the small business confidence levels were at an all-time low?
Very low. Equal to what they were at the beginning of the pandemic. Major recessions, things like that. Yeah,
I thought you said it hasn't been this low since the Great Depression.
It's about the same level as what it was at the Great Depression, but it was also very low during the pandemic. It was also very low. So I mean, it's down. It's down significantly, and it's an optimism index that they kind of look at.
Okay.
For small business owners that make up 46% of the economy, and they are not looking good. Not looking good at all.
Interesting.
So,
and you see restaurants. You go to restaurants still. They're still closed multiple days. Some of them not opening for lunch.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's economy, it's people not willing to go out and spend money, or if it's inability to get staff. I don't know. There's a whole combination of things.
Yeah, a bunch of restaurants for sale I'm seeing,
Really?
all over the place. Yeah. Oh yeah. Some ones that I've been to many times, and keep seeing stuff pop up. So
Okay, so as promised, we talk a lot about buyers, sellers, we talk a lot about houses, we talk about market, we talk about what's going on in our business, ways you can do better, things that we do, but we never really sit and talk about the person. And, we're lucky. We've got, one of Lake County's hardest working real estate brokers, Christin Kaufman. She's our wonderful co-host. She's the one that keeps this show running. She keeps the conversation flowing. And what I want to do, Christin, is I want to spend a little bit of time. I want to talk about you today.
I think I can do that.
Yeah, I think so too. You're good at this stuff. When we first met when you were actually in hospitality, right?
Yep.
But after that, we got further acquainted when you and your husband wanted to buy a house. Yep. We worked together, and then
selling our house and buying.
Selling and buying, right? At what point did you get the real estate bug?
Honestly, when I was working with you. I know that's going to sound fake, but when I was working with you on our sale and our purchase, working with you, watching the way that you were handling our transaction, how enthusiastic and how passionate you were about info dumping on us, what your strategies are, what your knowledge on the market was. It was kind of contagious, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a chance to really see what that can look like, because you do a really good job of bringing people into the process. So we were always aware of exactly what was going on, and not just with our transaction, but with what the market is doing. And you were always sharing that information, and I thought that was really cool. And at that particular time in my life, we had recently received my oldest daughter's autism diagnosis, and that led to speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. It led to all sorts of appointments that required me to be all over the place, and we had an infant at the time. And I was working in hospitality, and in that business, you have a physical shift that you have to be present for, or you don't make any money. And I loved that business. I loved working in that environment because I loved that I got to work with people. I love the service aspect of that. I loved that every day was a little bit different. I loved that I wasn't just sitting behind a desk, because I had done paralegal work in the past and I hated it. I hated it. I could not bring myself to want to do it. And I gave it a full 2 years almost.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just wasn't for me. I knew that back when I was 22 to 24, I believe, I was doing that work, and I spent every week waiting for the weekend and every weekend dreading the next week. And I knew that it wasn't for me. So I knew that throwing stability out the window was just going to have to be the path for me if I wanted to find any sort of happiness in what I was doing for a living. So I did end up going back at that point to the hospitality business, and I loved it. I truly did. But I also knew that it wasn't going to be long-term sustainable for me. I knew that even though I loved it today, I was not going to love it some undetermined amount of tomorrows afterwards. And so I started considering what my options would be moving forward, especially with how
Okay, before we get the whole story,
See, I told you
there's some
I
questions
told you
here
I
too.
could talk.
And that's great, and that's one of the things that make you as superb as you are in this business. So I do want to slow it down just a little bit to so once you made that decision to get into it, big decision. You decide, you say, okay, I'm going to go take the test. I'm going to take the course. I'm going to learn to do this. Did you have support from family at that time?
Tons.
Because a lot goes into studying.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of my studying was done after bedtime. My husband works nights, and so I wasn't doing much anyway. I would put my kids to bed, and I'd open up my laptop, and I would be at it for as long as my eyes would stay open.
And so, obviously, you passed flying colors, right?
First time.
And then, how much since you've passed your test, how much of that information and knowledge have you used in your career?
I'm not going to say none, because there is very important information that you need to get down, which is why you have to pass the test. But most of the knowledge that I gained happened after I got my license and started working closely with you.
Sure. Well, yeah, just in the industry itself. I mean, we learn new stuff every day from everyone.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That's why having huge networks is so important, because it's just a melting pot of knowledge, right? That we share. And how many square feet in an acre? Do you know?
Oh God, don't do that to me.
Do you know, Sly?
No.
Okay, you're
it's
never
not
going to
just
forget
me.
it again. You're
Yes,
never
I
going to forget
will.
it again. No. Hear me out. 7-Eleven.
You've said this to me.
Oh, really? Oh, so you forgot it again.
Told ya.
Okay, 7-Eleven. The first two numbers are 43,000. The last three numbers are 560. So the first two numbers are 7. The last two numbers equal 11. 43,560. Write it on your hand.
Perfect.
And surprisingly, that's one of the things I would say almost on a daily basis that comes up in my career. Because when we list a house, you got to know the acreage. So, the square footage of the lot. Well, so it's a 7,000 square foot lot divided by 43,560. That equals 0.16 acres or whatever it is. So, but there's a lot of new language, right? You learn a new language when you take your real estate test.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
Alluvion rights and ripple rights and all these things that they don't really come up much here in Lake County. I think more in kind of rural areas, maybe Michigan, Wisconsin, Southern Illinois, maybe somewhere that goes through. But most of the knowledge does come from working the job.
Absolutely.
And you made a decision pretty quickly. So you were working hospitality, and you were working this job, and you realized pretty quick that you get to set all of your own hours, and no one tells you what to do, when to be there, right?
No, that's what I thought it was going to be. I really did.
That's what everyone thinks.
It's funny. So when I had made the decision in my mind that this is what I was going to do, I had already actually decided in my mind that I was also going to work with Dick. Unbeknownst to him. So funny enough, as fate would have it, he randomly around that same time had made a Facebook post that I've never seen him make before and I've never seen him make sense. So maybe just fate made it happen, right? But he had posted something to the extent of if you have any interest in becoming an agent, reach out. Let's have a conversation. I was like, this is the time. I got to do it. And you and I sat down and you kind of gave me a very general explanation of what the industry kind of looks like. And I had asked you, I said, so what would you say your quality of life is like? And you were like, terrible. And I thought you were joking. I genuinely took that as a joke. And I'm like, he's not telling the truth. There's no way. And I really did go into it, like I had mentioned, with having a special needs child and an infant at the time. I was like, I need the kind of job where I can set my own hours. And like, there's some truth to that, right? You can say, no, I'm not available for that time. Let's make a different appointment. There's not like a physical shift that you have to be present for. But if you want to do, in my opinion, if you want to do this industry correctly and ethically, you have to do it in service of your clients. Yeah. So it's not about my hours, and it's not about my free time, and it's not about my preferences. It's about my clients, and it's about what their needs are, what their preferences are, what their schedules are like. So sure, within reason, I can say yes or no to an appointment, but they set my hours. They're my employers.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And it's like on weekends. On weekends you're scrambling to get those buyers into the properties, and evenings during the week.
Yep.
And then during the day you're dealing with the attorneys and the appraisers and the people who work 9 to 5. So it's almost as if we live in like a foreign country far away, and we're still doing business here in the U.S. and we have to keep our hours at the same time as keeping the hours of the local time zone. Sure. So yeah, everyone gets into this business. Oh, I can make my own hours. Well, yeah, there's truth to that, but the reality is no, your clients make your hours. And because of that, I think when you started, you thought, hey, I'm going to keep both jobs going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'll have an income coming in. But what did you find out pretty quickly?
I found out that trying to do both made me not enjoy either very much.
Really?
Yeah, I was able to do it. I'm a person who will continue to take things on and make it work, as I'm sure you know at this point. I'm crazy. I'll keep making it happen, but I wasn't enjoying it anymore, and I wasn't able to fully commit myself to this industry and to my clients and to myself and to my family, trying to take on both jobs. And I kind of had to believe in myself a little bit and just let go of what was safe to me and fully immerse myself in this business.
And that's scary, because in this business, you don't get a weekly paycheck. You don't get a bi-weekly paycheck.
Nope.
You don't get a monthly stipend. There's no draw on commission, right? You only get what do you say? That you reap what you sow. You harvest what you plant.
Yep.
And a lot of times, and it's not effort-based either. Right? It's not I put in this much effort, I make this much money.
Oh, yeah. Nope.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
You can put in a ton of effort because you're subject to the whims of everything around you.
Yeah.
Also.
Absolutely.
There's about a dozen different people involved in every transaction from our perspective, and behind those dozen people, there's about 150 more.
Yep.
So we deal with the appraisers and the loan officers and the attorneys and the other brokers and their brokers and the inspectors. Right. And then behind them, there's full support staff. There's loan processors. There's underwriters, people we don't have any interaction with, but they're all making these decisions. And then, we just had a situation recently where a buyer, 3 days from closing, lost his job.
Yep.
Right? So everyone involved in the transaction is just like screeching halt.
Yep.
Now what? And then what you're hoping is that the players in the transaction can keep it together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes it fun and interesting. Not for the seller necessarily, or the buyer who lost his job.
Not for the people
right?
whose finances are in the air.
Right. But it keeps it creative, and you're always trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And you're exceptionally good at that. So major kudos to that. Okay, so you made that big jump. You not knowing when your checks were going to come.
Yeah.
You said, okay, I'm striking this revenue source.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you're a wife, you're a mother.
Yep.
And now you've got to figure out how to now make this work for you. So what happens next?
What happened next was I sat in your office and I said, look, I'm ready. I'm fully in it. Let's just make this happen. And I've been working nonstop since.
I remember, I think your first transaction, like just a couple days before closing. Talk about like surprises.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like, here we are. You got your first deal.
Yep.
You got this client on your own.
Yep.
It wasn't a lead.
Yep.
You found them yourself.
Yep.
You cultivated the relationship. You built the trust. You did a fantastic job. You sold that house almost instantly.
Over asking.
And then 3 days, literally 3 days before closing.
Day of.
No, I thought it was Friday to a Monday.
Nope, it was that day.
Oh, it's day of?
It was that day.
Oh, it was the final
The attorney
walkthrough.
waited to tell us over the weekend that things had changed.
Oh, right.
It was morning of closing.
Slide back in February when we had the power outage. And no, not the power outage. This one was the big melt. So we got all of that snow, and then the big melt came. We had 2 properties scheduled to close within a week of each other. Both right before closing had floods in the basement.
Oh, no.
Yep.
And now one of the deals they salvaged, and on this particular one happened to be someone from a different country who's not used to basements, and culturally they got scared.
Yeah.
They were like, well, I don't want a basement that floods like this, and who can blame them, right? You know, growing up in Illinois, we kind of expect that, you know, especially
it happens.
Not a big deal.
right. But the sump pump. Something happened with the sump pump. It like froze or it couldn't keep up or something. And then they wound up canceling. And then it was.
You and I that day are in the backyard, literally scooping water away from the house,
Yeah.
like in the snow. Our feet are wet. Our
Full
shoes
service.
are soaked. Yeah.
And that's what this business is.
I
You know,
literally
you're
thought to
everything.
myself as we were doing that, because we weren't prepared for that, right? So we showed up and we're like, we found, I think it was like pots, like plant pots, and we were using those to scoop water.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, yeah, realtors just open doors.
Yeah, right. You're making your own hours, right?
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things we've already talked about on this show was, and you had witnessed it, you had told me, was at 2:00 in the morning 2 years ago, we had a closing the next day and the power went out and and it was raining like cats and dogs and the snow was melting, and I was there from 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning using my car to charge a pump so it could keep ejecting the water. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
You
of course,
do
he's on
everything.
Facebook Live broadcasting the whole
Yeah,
thing.
there you go. Absolutely.
You know, these are the
That's
things.
funny. I was actually just telling that story today, though, because I attended a final walkthrough for a closing for one of my clients today, and I was kind of educating them on like what the purpose of us walking in is for. I'm like, we're just making sure everything is exactly as it was agreed upon. That's it.
Right.
We're making sure there's no floods in the basement. They're like, what? I'm like, oh, it happened.
Yep.
Trust me.
And-
But yeah, so this getting back on track of what you were talking about. I believe your question was, so what was next?
Yeah, what happened next?
I mean, from that point, we handled it well. What, that specific transaction?
No. What happened next after you made the decision to, you know, just, hey, you cut the strings. You said, I'm in this. I'm all in. And this is do or die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, at that point, I really just fully immersed myself. If I wasn't actively working on my own transactions, I was working on Dick's transactions. If I wasn't doing either of those things that day, I started listening to podcasts. I was attending meetings. I was making sure I was showing up to the office to talk to you, to talk to Bob, to fully immerse myself. I started following every realtor in the area that I could think of to see what they're doing, to see what's going on. And I kept myself as informed as possible to make sure that I was always learning and always growing. And I've been able to see the harvest of that, if you will, a lot over the last year. It's been awesome, but not without a lot of work.
Have your kids ever influenced any of your real estate transactions or interactions?
What do you mean?
Have you ever had a situation where you're responsible for the kids at this moment, but yet you have to do something else?
Oh, sure.
Have they ever influenced that?
They've come with me.
That's perfect.
I always call the clients first to make sure that that's okay, that they're all right with it. But yeah, they've come with me to showings. My daughter, my 6-year-old today, actually asked me this morning if blank, the client that is closing today, like, did you find them a house? Because my kid knew that client by name by the end of it. Because the thing is that when you are juggling all those things and you've got 2 working parents in the home and your kids are with you, and I have a very supportive village, but of course they all have lives as well. So not everyone's available at a moment's notice. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a client call me and be like, we found the one. This is the one. Can we go today? Can we go right now? And I'm like, can I bring my kids with me? Right. And they say yes. So we throw them in the car and we go.
But what better way to teach your kids about entrepreneurship and business and being your own boss than being able to involve them in that? I bring Jonathan to, I brought him to several, photography appointments. He loves it. Yeah. I remember I used to bring Cameron to things, and she for years talked about that client where she got to do this. Yeah. And we went to kind of rake leaves. They love that. And it's such a great opportunity in this field to be able to, at some level, to be able to do that.
Because it's a relationship business. It's a person business. And, Yeah, I completely agree with you. I will say that there are days where a little bit of mom guilt sets in, where I'm like, oh, I feel so bad.
How do you handle that?
I mean, I kind of just have to talk myself through it and accept it. I mean, we're in a society where often, as I'm just going to talk about my own experience, actually, I often feel like I live in a world where I'm expected to raise kids as if I don't work and work as if I don't have kids. And so on my more challenging days, I just try to give myself some grace and remind myself that I'm doing my best. I'll pull out a craft or something and play on the floor with my kids for a little bit to make sure that they still got some time, some quality time. And I just, if I feel like I didn't do my best, I just do a little bit better tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of mom guilt that comes into play there where, my kids have had to come with me to a handful of showings and I'm like, oh, this has been their day. I feel so bad. But you're exactly right. I mean, remembering their experience and where they're at in their mind, they're not necessarily thinking, oh, I didn't get to play all day. They're like, I got to be with mom all day. And I am proud of that. Absolutely. Being able to show my kids that hard work is important and necessary and that it's something to be proud of.
Did you make the right decision getting involved in real estate?
Absolutely. As far as I can tell so far.
Have you ever had 2
Absolutely.
days the same?
No. Oh my God, no, absolutely not. And that's what I love about it. It's exactly what I was looking for in a career. I love that every day is different. I love that every day has its new victories and challenges. And I love the feeling of service that I get from it. There's nothing that I love more than I was at that final walkthrough and I was on the stoop crying with my client just about how cool it was that we got them to this point for them. And none of it's fake. I mean, it genuinely comes from a place of just loving that I'm able to provide that to people.
And that is, I will say, one of the challenges in our business, right? Because we become emotionally installed with our clients. Yeah. So their pains are our pains. Yeah. What keeps them up at night keeps us up at night for them.
Absolutely.
And, our goal is obviously to help deliver them along a way that's, is as stress-free as possible. But the reality is things happen. Yeah. And that's where your experience comes in to help. Sometimes it's not even just about solving them, but to help let them understand that you're not the first person to experience this. This has happened a billion other times. Yeah. And there's a way out and there's a way through. And that's, I think, probably your experience with, and if you don't mind me sharing because you've already said it, your experience raising a child with autism has given you that level of empathy and patience to deal with things that aren't necessarily what you expect right off the bat.
100%. Raising my autistic child has made me a better person. Yeah. 100%.
Well,
the
I would
amount
believe
of
that.
patience that I've learned from having to sit down and reconfigure my entire viewpoint on what I thought parenting would look like for me, because my parenting journey is completely different than I had imagined it being at the beginning, and having to completely reconfigure that and start from scratch and be like, okay, I need to figure out how she learns so that I can teach her, and I need to figure out what that means for us, what that means for my village, the people in our lives, and absolutely it has stemmed way beyond just my daughter, because I have a completely different viewpoint on life, a completely different level of patience that exists within me.
One of the things I found fascinating is, remember when we were booking our travel to go to Dallas to go to the real estate conference. Yeah. And you weren't the only one who went. Another agent in the office went, and that other agent was thinking about, oh, cool, we're going away, and let's try to get more time, And then I remember your response was like, no, I got to get back. I got to get back to my kids.
Yeah. That is one of I think the more challenging parts for me when it comes to juggling a full-time real estate career and raising my children and being an active participant in my marriage is letting go of a certain level of control so that it can all work out, which I know sounds counterproductive, right? I remember at the beginning of my daughter's school year when she first started school last year, I sat down with my husband and I created an entire almost hour by hour schedule per day. Like, okay, this is when I'm going to drop her off. You're going to pick her up. And these are the days that we're going to have a babysitter. And this is when I'm going to schedule my showings. And this is when I'm going to have listing appointments. And I had everything planned out. And I was never more stressed than during that time where things were working the way that I had planned. Because you can't do that. You really can't. Not in any sort of sustainable, joyful way at all. And excuse me, I really did have to learn how to completely let go of the day-to-day control. I still struggle with that a little bit, hence the moment that you're talking about, like, oh, let's take another day. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get back. That's a lot of days away from my kids. Also, I genuinely like my kids. So
Yeah,
I
it helps.
I like spending time with them. So, but yeah, there is a certain level of control that you have to let go of to enjoy doing this industry, because you can't control transactions. You know that just as well as I do. You can't control what your clients like. You can't control how they feel about things.
You can never want it more than them.
Oh God, 100%. You cannot want it more than them. Absolutely. That's a lesson that I did have to learn, probably the hard way, but.
Now, this isn't a religious show at all, but I want to share something just based on what you said about, you like your kids and you want to be around them.
I do.
I was in church this past Sunday, and the pastor, it's about families this month. And he's just kind of talking about, what are the 4 goals of raising kids? And the first one he said, we want them after they grow up to like us, to want to come back and visit us, right? We want them to, once they grow up, enjoy us. And what he was pointing out was this difference. He kind of used, and this is, you would have appreciated this, Sly. He used a analogy of a mortgage. And so basically he had a box and a line, a diagonal line. The bottom left of the box was the start of the line, and it went up to the right, and the top of the line, went up to the top right of the box. And he said, it's like your mortgage interest. On day one, the amount of principal you pay is nothing, pennies. And then on the last day of your mortgage, it's like almost the whole payment goes to principal. And when you bring kids into the world, that's the same thing. In the beginning, it's your 100% parenting and providing and supplying, and then as you move along that diagonal line, you're letting go, you're releasing more until you get to that point where now I'm your friend. Now you have your path, your family, your relationships, and let's hope that we can still be, friendly and together. I thought it was a beautiful message.
Very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always my goal with my kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple more things I want to ask you.
Hit me.
Is because I know you are doing such a great job of staying on top of everything that you do. How do you handle your time management?
I handle it as it comes, because again, I learned early on that trying to schedule out every minute of every day absolutely does not work, and that there's a big difference between time management, meaning thinking you can control every minute of your day and have it all scheduled out and planned out, and time management in the sense of prioritization and prioritizing what needs my attention right now, what needs my attention later this evening, and what can wait until tomorrow. So really just focusing on not having a time management problem, but focusing on having a prioritization plan in place for myself.
If someone came to you in a similar situation that you were a couple years ago, what advice would you give them if they wanted to get in this business?
If they wanted to get in this business, the advice that I would give would be have as many conversations as you possibly can with other local realtors to really gain from their experience, and don't just think that they're joking when they tell you that there are challenges as well. And make sure that you have checked in with yourself to make sure that you're getting into it for the right reasons, and that they aren't only self-serving reasons. I mean, we choose our careers for a reason, right? And one of them is definitely enjoyment, but so much of this job is in servitude of others. And if you're not someone who's going to enjoy that, I don't recommend this for you, right? So check in with yourself and ask yourself why it is you want to do it.
That's a brilliant one, because we hear so many stories. 85% of people fail in the first 5 years in this industry. Yeah. And so many people get involved thinking, and they see posts from successful realtors and they're like, oh, look, they're loaded. I want to get this so I can be rich. I think the successful realtors that I've experienced, that I've been exposed to, that I've talked to, that are part of my network, they all love what they do so much that if the pay went away, they would do it anyway. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Not that they want to do it for free. They don't want to work for free. That's not what I'm saying. But they would do it anyway. How many realtors do you know who are able to retire who don't? right?
Yeah.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
They're in their 70s, 80s. They still work, not because they have to, because it's in your blood.
Yeah.
And that helping. So when someone says, well, I'm in this business because I like helping people, some people actually mean it.
Yeah.
Some people say it, and then when the
Sure.
pay goes away, it's like, oh, yeah, no, screw you. I don't want to help you anymore.
Sure.
But okay, so time management. So make sure you check with yourself. Make sure it's something you want to do. Make sure you want to help people because it's something that you have to do and put them before you. What else? What other tips?
Some other tips that I would have would be, like I said, make sure that you are making certain that you have some prioritization set up in your life. Make sure that you have a decent support system too. I truly do not know how I would succeed in this business if I did not have a supportive partner, if I did not have a supportive family. My in-laws and my direct family are so supportive. And that's not to say that you can't do it if you're someone who's in worse circumstances, but definitely try to do your best to make sure that you've got a support system in place. And don't, just like they say anytime you start a business, because you are working for yourself at the end of the day, don't expect to make a buttload of money those first couple of tries at it. And make sure that you are able to believe in yourself and really have some faith in yourself that you can accomplish this, because there will be a moment that you're really down on yourself and you're wondering if you're good enough or if people like you enough to even want to hire you or talk to you. You're going to look around and see that friends, maybe even family, have chosen to go a different route. You can't take that personally. So just really make sure that you're able to believe in yourself and have that sort of self-worth of knowing that if you keep at it and you keep going, there is an opportunity for success and to see the other side of things.
Okay, so all that said, would you recommend it to someone?
I'm going to give the annoying answer that I give to people when they ask me about if it's a good time to sell their house. I think it really, really depends. I think it really depends on the person. I think it depends on the circumstances that your life is in and what it is that you're going to enjoy out of a career. If you're looking for stability, no, I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
If you're looking for every day to be different, if you're looking for a job that's going to fulfill the giving part of your heart, if you're looking for a career where you're able to take a lot of personal pride while remaining humble at the same time and grateful every time you get a transaction, then yeah, I think that it would be a fantastic business to get into.
Okay, fantastic. What else do you have to offer? Anything?
I've got lots of things to offer.
Okay.
You had asked me earlier, actually, because I don't know that I answered the question in the way that you were looking for. You had asked if having kids had influenced any of my interactions with clients, and I talked about how I brought my kids with and stuff. But I don't think that that's what you were asking me. I think you were asking me on more of like a personal level of like, does the perspective of being a mother have any influence on the way that I interact with my clients? No,
actually it was specifically how do you deal with kids, and I'm going to say this, it sounds terrible to say it, getting in the way of you doing business.
Yeah.
How do you work with it? Because it's obviously a reality. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So how do you juggle it, which is exactly how you answered it.
Okay.
There is that other effect, which is, what does having... especially, and you kind of addressed it when you're dealing with your child with autism, and then dealing with how you can interact with people. And especially, I got to imagine that there's this level of empathy that you have for clients, especially, in certain situations based on your own experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a really cool and unique experience being someone who wears a lot of different hats, one of which being a special needs parent, because I've had this really unique connection with quite a few of my clients who are in similar situations where we have that sort of basic level of understanding with each other of what being a special needs parent is. We talked last week about how it was really cool being at that real estate event because we were in a conference in a room full of other people who just understood us without us having to explain ourselves to each other.
It was very, very cold.
And it's a very cool, similar experience when I'm able to work with other special needs parents and they don't have to explain themselves when they're bringing their child with on a on a showing and, certain things come up, or when they explain to me the importance of needing to be in a specific school district because a child's IEP needs are already being met. I've had conversations with clients about their IEPs and my opinions on it, because that's something that I have experience in doing too. So I'm really lucky and really grateful to be able to experience that level of connection and to give that experience of connection on the client side of things too, being able to work with someone who just understands that very important, very cumbersome part of their life, because you're never not a special needs parent. You don't take that hat off. That's always in the back of your mind,
right.
Making sure that you're managing all of the things that need to be managed, whatever they are. And I think it's a really cool connection that I get to have.
Okay, so do you think that this business is a good business for a parent of young kids?
Of young kids, yeah, I do.
And then is there anything in this business that you would change to make it more friendly for a parent of young kids in this business?
Within the business, no. I wish there were more structures in place to just support working parents in general, but that's a completely different conversation about society. But within this business, no, I love it.
It kind of gives you the flexibility that you need to kind of be you're going to wear all hats.
Yeah. And
right?
I'm able to at all times and continue to take more on every day. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you. I know you probably like it, but I know it's hard being in the hot seat, but you excel at it, Christin.
Yes.
You did a fantastic
well.
job. And thank you very much for everything that you do.
Thank you for everything you do. If it weren't for you, I don't think that I would be in this position that I am, because I got to learn from you so closely and so
directly. But I
directly.
think you would be. I think you would have figured it out. But congratulations. I do want to finish up with the last couple of minutes and kind of just talk a little bit about going back to the property tax assessments, because we didn't discuss. Oh, before I do that, actually, if someone wanted to reach you, Christin, how would they call you, and what is your website?
If somebody wanted to reach me for any real estate purposes, you would call me on my cell phone or text at 847-977-6751. Or you could send me an email at Kaufman, Kaufman @dickbarr.com. And I'm sorry, Dick, you're going to have to remind me of what the new website is for me. I don't remember.
It's Christin.dickbarr.com.
Christin, Christin @dickbarr.com. And really quickly, I also just want to give a shout out to my husband, who I know is watching. Thank you so much for the support that you give me to let me do everything that I do.
Rob, we really appreciate the support you give her, because I know it's what really gives her the abilities to kind of just step out and go out and make a difference. So Thanks, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to property taxes. If you received your blue card within the past 3 weeks, you have an opportunity to contest your property tax evaluation. A lot of people think they can contest when the tax bill comes out, but no, once a tax bill comes out, nope, you owe that. There's nothing you can do about that. The time to contest taxes is when your assessment comes out, because you're not contesting how much you pay, you're contesting how much they say the value of your home is. So if you have a home that you're pretty confident is worth $250,000 and your assessment says it's worth $300,000, there's a pretty good argument that you could win an appeal. About 10 years ago, the Illinois State Legislature made it so real estate professionals can no longer help you with those assessments. We can't help you file the appeals. You have two choices. You can either go to an attorney who does property tax appeals, or you can do it yourself. And it's actually fairly easy to do it yourself. The tools are all available online, and you can search Lake County, Illinois property tax appeal, and you'll find it pretty simply where you can go. You can log on. They have tools that will help you find all of the comparable properties that they used. And you also want to check your blue card to make sure there's no factual inaccuracies. If they say you have a finished basement but you don't, that's something you can report straight to the township. If they say you have a fireplace and you don't, you want to let them know, because they're saying your house is worth more because you have features that you don't necessarily have. So make sure the township assessor is aware of that. And then, of course, since we are Illinois, you can consider taking out all your toilets, and maybe you can get lower property taxes that way. I guess no one got that.
The governor did.
Oh, right, yeah. Anyway, does anyone else have anything else to add for this beautiful Wednesday as we enter into fall with 85-degree weather?
Unreal. It's been
Isn't it great?
beautiful. Yeah.
I'm over it. I want the cold weather.
We're going to be in the cold weather for 4 months.
Listen, I'm not saying I need it to be cold, but I'm over summer. In the same way that once March hits, I put my winter coat away and I'm like willing spring to come. Like my shorts are put away, my flip flops are put away. Let's do this. Okay.
But there was a couple weeks ago, like it was like a Sunday, I want to say, or Saturday. Like I get up super early and take my dog for a walk every morning, and I walk out in shorts and a t-shirt because it was like 80 the day before, and it was 46 degrees that morning. I got like a block away, and I'm like, shoot, I got to go back and get a hoodie or something because I could see my breath, and I'm like, okay, it's coming. But then now it's like.
That's fair, though. To be honest with you, I say that in the middle of the day when the sun is just beating down on us and it's 90 degrees for no reason. I will say I've been making a point of getting up extra early lately to get more work done. But I have carved out 30 minutes for myself in the morning to just sort of have a cup of coffee and have sort of I call it gratitude time. Where I take some time to just really think of the things that I'm grateful for, and I'm living for these mornings. They're so nice outside. The 70-degree mornings, the birds are still chirping, the sun is still shining. So that part can stay, but the 90 degrees has got to go.
Yeah,
not me. I was dying when we were in Dallas. It was hotter in Chicago than it was in Dallas.
Yeah,
and I was looking forward to the heat. It is totally crazy.
Crazy.
Anyone have any big news coming up? Anything to plug?
Any big news? I mean, I've got a lot of transactions happening.
I'm going to call that big news because you're doing it normally. Okay, so no one's going to be on Zanies and doing a stand-up bit anytime soon?
No.
Does Zanies still exist?
So fun fact, my husband actually was one of the managers for the Vernon Hills Zanies when it existed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I used to go there all the time.
Yeah.
I love there. I saw, Titus. I think it's Chris Titus.
Okay.
I saw him there, a few other famous people. Oh, I saw the Jose Jalapeno guy, Jeff Dunham.
Jeff
Dunham. He was at the Zanies,
He's got
too.
all sorts of funny, cool stories of backstage interactions and stuff that he's had with all the various comedians. Who's cool, who's not, who's nice,
that's
who's
cool.
horrible. Yeah, all sorts. We'll have to bring him on one day. We'll let him talk about it.
That's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
I am excited to go see Creed live.
Really?
Yes.
Where
yes. Are they? Back to the 90s. They are performing in Grand Rapids, Michigan in November.
Okay.
They're on a national tour, and it's like the Creed concert is basically like the Eras tour for middle-aged men.
Oh my god!
Like if you go type in Creed on TikTok or Instagram, it's just all a bunch of guys like me that grew up listening to it, and then it went away forever.
Right.
And now it's gotten a great resurgence. So we got our tickets. Me and a couple buddies are going to drive to Michigan for a couple hours and, watch.
So you're just going there and back?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How far a drive is that?
3.5 hours or so.
Oh,
it's 240 miles. No, it's not bad.
You guys go by have Creedies, sweat t-shirts.
Not yet. I gotta get online and look to see what they have because it'll be exciting. I'm super pumped. I've always liked Creed, and like I said, they've had a resurgence recently, and all of a sudden they started popping up more on everything. And I'm like, and I really enjoy their music. I mean, they haven't come out with anything new or anything like that, so all the songs they're playing at these concerts are
know them.
Yeah, every song. So I'm super pumped. And Three Doors Down is opening. So.
3 Doors Down. I don't think I know them.
Yes, you do.
Kryptonite. There's their big song.
Yeah,
right?
you do. You would
Kryptonite?
know it. Yeah.
So I know Spin Doctor's Kryptonite. I don't know if I know. Let me see.
I'd sing it, but I'm pretty sure there's a licensing thing there.
Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed to talk.
Yeah.
No, we're allowed to talk all we want.
Yeah. So if I go crazy, then would you still call me Superman?
Yeah.
You would know it if you heard it. Yep.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do know this one.
Of
That's
course
true.
you
Okay,
do.
I just didn't know the names. I know a lot of songs without knowing the bands.
Yeah.
I know. I was a big fan of Spin Doctors in the 90s.
Yeah.
And like Jane's Addiction. Did you see Jane's Addiction just canceled their tour?
They beat each other up on stage or something. I saw that. Yeah, in the middle of a concert, they got into a fight.
It was nuts.
Oh my God.
The lead singer went and punched the guitar player.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. What was it? What is the Jack Black's band? What was his called?
Tenacious D.
Tenacious D.
Yeah.
They had a big challenge in Australia. They wound up canceling their tour too. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Have a great week and take a look at those low interest rates. Maybe it's time to make a move.
Yes.
Take care.
That's That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of our community, exploring the ins and outs of real estate and meeting the people who make Lake County truly remarkable. Remember, every property has a story, and every community member holds a key to unlocking our county's full potential. Don't miss out on discovering more hidden gems and expert insights. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon for another episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Until then, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep unlocking the possibilities that await you in Lake County. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.